JobSeeker is basically an amalgamation of a number of different payments that previously people could claim that have now been amalgamated into one. So from today, anybody who is requiring social services payments go in and they just apply for JobSeeker, and a myriad of different circumstances can apply to this same payment. So what I really want to do is to make sure that all Australians are rest assured that previously there was a payment called sickness payment or sickness benefit. That will be rolled into New Start, but it will still exist in exactly the same conditions as it previously existed in. So if people need to get access to what was previously called sickness benefit, go in and apply for JobSeeker and you will be eligible.
Do you actually have to physically go in? Because that's a concern with spreading coronavirus.
Look, absolutely. And so there are a number of different platforms by which you can access social security payments now. You can do it online and you can do it over the phone. It's probably best to do it over the phone, so that, particularly for new people, so that they can be assured of the things that they need to provide. But one of the things that we are doing as part of this process as responding to the coronavirus is to streamline the process for people who find themselves without work and are going to need to rely on a welfare payment to get them through this crisis, that it's much, much easier, much more simple for them, and as you rightly say, that they can do it over the phone so they don't actually have to attend in person to a centre.
One of the concerns raised by Labor has been the processing times if you are applying for that, especially if you're new. We understood it was around 5 days. Is that still the case?
Currently, it is about 5 days. However, there are circumstances where if people come in and they find themselves in particular financial difficulty, they are able to get an almost immediate payment. But we are working at the moment to gear up social services or the Services Australia to make sure that we have got the quickest response times, because we understand that there is very likely to be quite a significant influx of people who will be relying on social services payments for the next few months. And so we are trying to make sure that we're geared up to respond as quickly as we possibly can.
Labor's also called for a raise to New Start as a stimulus measure. Is that likely to be in the second tranche of the stimulus that we're expecting later this week?
Well, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, exceptional circumstances will require, and we are certainly in exceptional circumstances at the moment, mean that we are looking at all sorts of options whereby we can assist the Australian public to get from here to the other side of this crisis. I'm not going to preempt what's going to be in the package that the Prime Minister and the Treasurer are going to announce, but I can say that we have looked at a myriad of different issues that are confronting Australians at the moment, and we will be responding in an appropriate way to them over the coming days.
You're also looking at food delivery options. That's going to be a big issue for people self-isolating, people in quarantine as well. What can the government do to make sure that people can access food in their homes?
Well, I've been working with emergency relief providers and food providers over the last few days, and I will meet them, teleconference, I should say, with them again today. What I'm doing at the moment is putting together a community services package to respond to a myriad of different issues that are going to face Australians over the coming days. And one of the most important ones, obviously, is to make sure that people have got access to food. But on the back of that, one of the things that is really, really concerning, and a message to anybody out there, Australia grows or produces 3 times as much food as we consume in this country. There is absolutely no need for anybody to be concerned about the availability and supply of food. We will work with providers and all the necessary components to make sure that people are able to get access to that food. But I would really beg any Australian who doesn't need to go and get things from the supermarket, don't hoard. There is plenty of food in Australia. And unfortunately, when you do that, it's the most vulnerable, the people on very low incomes who aren't able to go and do big shops and spend hundreds of dollars on their shopping. They have to do it on a week-to-week basis. They are the ones that are actually being impacted the worst by this panic buying that we've been seeing across Australia over recent weeks.
And just finally, you've been holding roundtable meetings with different community groups, disability groups, things like that. What assurances can you give the most vulnerable Australians that they won't be forgotten in what you've said is extraordinary times?
Oh, they are extraordinary times, and that's why we're making sure that we reach out to absolutely everybody that we think may be in a position of isolation. We're working with the community groups, with representative bodies, with advocacy bodies in all of the sectors, whether it be disability, whether it be carers, all of the vulnerable sectors, And one of the things that we're seeking to do is just to get these sectors to support them in picking up the phone and ringing the people that they represent and just saying, hey, are you okay? And making sure that they have what they need to get them through what is going to be a really tough time for all Australians over the next few months. But I think what we've seen is an extraordinary spirit amongst all of our social or our community service providers working together to make sure that we can work together to get through this together so that we can make sure that we provide the maximum amount of support for all Australians over the coming months.